Good afternoon and welcome to Tea with Ann Marie. I'm the host, Ann Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group, also President and founder of Cannabisiac. And I'm so happy to be back with you all. It's been a while. This is actually the first Tea with Ann Marie interview this year. So our last interview was back in, I believe, November. So it has definitely been a few months. Of course, you've seen other great content that I have been sharing as a part of Tea with Ann Marie in kind of a new format. So hopefully you've been tuning in. I've shared some value-packed content, which more to come. And I am now reintroducing the portion where we actually interview guests and we spill the tea on what's happening in the world of business, politics, community, news, and so much more. I always want to bring on interesting people to just talk about what they're doing in our community and in the world. And so today I am joined by Anozaire Orius, and welcome, Anozaire.
Well, thank you for having me, Ann. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to be here, and I'm just glad to have some tea with you.
Absolutely. Well, talking about tea, so I love tea. Most people are coffee drinkers. I have never been a coffee drinker. I actually don't even like the taste of coffee.
I love coffee and I love tea, so I'm a big fan.
Yeah. But so what is your favorite tea?
Anything green tea is fine with me. I don't have a particular one, but any tea is fine with me. My
Oh,
wife
awesome.
is a tea expert, so she tends to give me all kind of names. She knows the name, but me, I'm not good. As long as tea is good for her, I'm good with it.
Oh, good, good. Well, I'm actually having a spearmint green tea, and
Interesting.
it just happens to also be in our Cannabisiac green mug. But it's a spearmint green tea, and spearmint or any mint is really relaxing, and mint has so many health benefits as well. So I'm a herbal tea type person. I like to have teas that have different types of health benefits, and I also like to kind of brew my own little concoctions from my garden, which it could be like ginger or turmeric or
Good.
we say fever grass in the Caribbean, but lemongrass or
Good.
other teas. Good. Well, so I see that you are the CEO
Yes.
of Bridging Communities and mental health first and a mental health first aid instructor. So definitely, first of all, just introduce yourself. Tell me who you are, what you do, kind of your journey a little bit, and we'll go from there.
Well, it's really a lot. Like you said, I am the CEO of Bridging Community, which is an educational support organization. We actually serving the Roanoke in Virginia, and we also serve the West Palm Beach area in Florida. But I'm also a life and job skills consultant at a local shelter and recovery program in Roanoke, Virginia, which is where I'm at right now. But the background can be a little bit all over the place. I mean, I start with financial service. I'm still involved in financial service, and I did a bit of time in youth development. I work in an after school practitioner, and I also teach mental health first aid. So basically, that's the background.
Now, what exactly is mental health first aid?
Well, mental health first aid is more like a general education course. We teach people to understand the different sign and symptom that somebody might be experiencing that might cause them a little bit of imbalance when it comes to mental health. And it's just a general education course that we teach, just like we have CPR. So mental health first aid is basically the same thing, just to kind of bring awareness in the community so people can understand when somebody's struggling with a mental illness. How do you know? What can you possibly do? And how can you support them?
Well, that's super important. I think that's even more important, especially in schools and policing and just so many other industries. So, what are some of the signs, just based on your instruction that you teach? What are some of the signs that someone may be experiencing mental health challenges?
For example, I come from a background where I suffered from depression. And depression is something very common, but a lot of people, like especially in my Haitian culture, that's not something we really talk about. Because whenever somebody is depressed, they tend to avoid it. They don't really share those things. But by talking to that person, you can see that they battling this negative vibe that they have that caused them to be low at all times, that caused them to be depressed at all times. So it's like not sharing certain things, when the person is withdrawn, when the person seems to be a little bit isolated. That was one of my things. I used to be in isolation all the time. I used to be a loner. And I used to think that it's okay for me to be that way because I did not have the knowledge to understand that I was the depression that was making me feel a certain ways. So whenever you see somebody is not always in a positive mode, the person is not performing at the higher level, that could be a cause, that could be a sign of this. And then when we engage in those conversations, that's when we kind of get the background information to really understand that they're really dealing with some kind of mental health issue.
You touched on something so interesting, and I'm Caribbean, Jamaican.
Okay.
You mentioned that you're Haitian,
Yeah.
and so in the Caribbean community and the Black community in general, mental health just seems to have been so taboo, and it's just a hard conversation to have, a hard topic. If one just even says, I mean, I think it's changing for sure as there's more knowledge and awareness, which we so need much more education, especially with just individuals. But how do you work a lot in the Caribbean community, Black communities? And if so, how are you able to kind of have people have a mindset shift when it comes to mental health awareness?
Well, it's all started with a conversation. When the people know that you care about them, you kind of open up the door to have those kind of taboo conversations, those things that people don't really like to talk about. But in the Haitian community, especially, I come from a religious background. Like in the church, that's not something we talk about because we all associate those type of thing to it's the devil's thing. But we all have mood swing. It's not just pregnant women that have those things. You know, we all have a moment where we feel low, where we feel alive. The only difference is some of us, we got caught up in the low for a longer period of time than some of us, we bounce out. We understand, okay, I'm not supposed to be in that environment. I need to change that. But it all started with communication. When people feel that you care, you open up the door. And then now you can help them make that mind shift. But it's all starting with the conversation. We have to engage with them. So me, when I used to do what I used to do is like having those one-on-one conversations, but now it's more like partner up with organizations so we can bring that the Haitian culture to any other culture that's not something that they really elaborate on.
No, that's good. Now, you just speaking of mental health, I think this pandemic has definitely challenged all of our mental health. And then now you have, like the situation in Ukraine, which is very unfortunate. And it's unfortunate on so many levels, right? The war, the people, what they're going through, the civilians, but then even the more recent additional ugly issues that have reared their head from just racism of and I know there are people out there it's like, oh, you always bring a race card, but the reality is just even how news reporters covered Africans in Ukraine that were trying to leave Ukraine, and just how that really just I think for anyone from the African diaspora just really affected us mentally as well. And just watching a war in general, if you love humankind, it affects you. And in how we are going to respond as a country. Are we just going to continue with sanctions, or are we going to get involved, or, so it's just like more things to put us on edge after just coming off of, a raging variant.
It's still going on.
Yeah. So it's just so, and then not to mention just, whatever people just have generally going on in their communities or their families or their own personal lives and personal struggles. So there's definitely a lot of mental triggers, so to speak, for people. And so what advice do you have for those who are out there that, I personally have just learned to just kind of take in news and what's happening in external world in doses, because I just realized I just had to shut some things off. But what advice do you have to give to people out there that may be experiencing just some emotional challenges because of just everything that's going on.
Despite what's going on, there's only one thing we are in control of, and it's us. And the world might be going crazy, but I always trying to bring people to awareness of they self-control. What can you do? And I always try to put it in an individual aspect. Like, let's say we're not going to worry about the entire world, but what can you do as a human being? What makes us human is the fact that we attribute value to other people. So my thing is, those people might be doing all kind of stuff, but let's see what we can do to you. Like, for example, us right now, what I'm trying to do is, what can I do as a human being to show value to Ann Marie? And I want Ann Marie to do the same thing to another person. So let's control us. Let's not get caught up into all this craziness that's going on. Let's see how we can impact the little community we have around us. And all we can do is kind of share the love we have. And those people, all we can do is pray for them. Hopefully they get to rationalization where they understand that, okay, let's put some value to what other human being rather than fight with them the way we find it. And once you ground in that philosophy where you have to spread the love among yourself, you kind of make things go a different way.
Well, let's talk about the love. I think, one of the topics that you wanted to share was grow in love with yourself.
Yeah.
And so share with me some more insight on that.
Well, that process is all about self-awareness. And we're all probably familiar with this saying that I fell in love with this person or we fell in love. But the process is nobody fell in love. And we have to grow in love. And that process starts with us. And I remember I love to share that one of the first thing I get from my wife at the time that we're dating, that we've been married for almost 11 years now. The first gift she gave me was a book called Love from Leo Buscaglia. And in the midst of that, I was going through my depression. And then when I started reading the book, that's when I kind of understand that you don't really fall in love with other people. You have to grow in love with them. And it's not just with other people. It's the same process with you. You have to start growing in love with you. And then for you to do that, that's when everything is going to start happening. That's when you're going to have the clarity you need. And then that's when you will be able to grow in love with other people. So it starts with you. So the growing in love process is a self-awareness type of thing. It's a process that you initiate with yourself, and then the effect happen in the community that you serve with everybody that you end up interacting with.
Well, can you elaborate on something? Because I think, most people think they love themselves and they are in love with themselves. I think, they say, I do pretty well with myself. I shower, I make sure I stay groomed, I buy myself nice things, I take myself to places I like to go. Or what do you mean?
Well,
grow in love with yourself.
To grow in love with yourself is not just one aspect of life. Like in Bridging Community, what we're trying to do is trying to bring awareness to people that every aspect of your life, they're all kind of correlated with one another. So when we're talking about love, it's not just one thing, it's about everything. So what we mean by that is when you say you love yourself, okay, how do you treat yourself beyond the making yourself look nice? I mean, what is your self-care process? I mean, how do you treat yourself? What do you do? How do you interact with everybody? So in Bridging Community, we focus on 5 things, which is your spiritual fulfillment, your physical health, your emotional stability, your interdependent relationship, and also financial literacy. So your money got to be right. When you love yourself, you start taking care of your money too. When you love yourself, you make sure you pay attention to your emotional stability. Be in tune with your emotion. Like you have to understand how to address your emotion. That's called love. And when it comes to spirituality, it's very important. You got to understand your spirituality. You got to find your spirituality fulfillment. It's very important. The type of relationship.
Is that religious or?
It could be anything. Because we are a spiritual human being. Whether we adapt to a particular religion or not, we are a spiritual human being. Like our spirit kind of connect. So whether you put it in Buddhist, Christianity, Catholic, whatever you call it, we are a spiritual human being. Our spirit connected. Mm-hmm. And one thing that really make us feel love is when we start impacting other people on that level. And I think I was reading some of the stuff from Tony Robbins. One of our greatest need is the contribution to other people. And that's what the human being is all about. So you can have all the things for yourself, but when you start contributing to other people, that's when the real love starts showing.
But you're also saying first, before you can start contributing and growing in love with other people, you got to make sure it's all here first,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. And it's every area of your life that plays into that stuff.
Yeah.
So you can't neglect any one of them. So everything or happening all at once in order for you to have that balance.
But do you find that it's just a lot of work?
It's the reason why you think it's a lot of work is because you don't really take the time to really understand how they work together. And what I love
Mhm.
to do is, like, in my workshop, Growing in Love with People, I always take them to, for example, a particular organization. So every organization has a model, every organization has some standards, and every organization has some goals that they attribute to the organization. And then you might think like, okay, well, for me to define the standards, the goals, the stuff the organization is it's gonna be like overwhelming. But the truth is, by knowing these things, it allowed the organization to operate smoothly. And I remember one of the greatest thing that happened to me. I was at an event a couple of years ago. I learned how to create my scoreboard, and the scoreboard allowed me to come up with a model for myself. Like, for example, in America, we have this model that's on every dollar bill: "In God We Trust," right? For example, Dunkin' Donut have a model that says, "America run them Dunkin'." So every kind of, and I'm pretty sure Mosaic Group might have a mission statement. They might have
Mhm.
a tagline, right? In my organization, our tagline is "Believe to Empower." But the thing is, we also operate as if we were an organization ourselves. What is your personal tagline? What is your personal standards? What is your personal, like, defining question? And when I was able to do that for myself, that's what kept me grounded. And that's what kept me in check with all my stuff. And all the stuff that I do in my business are pretty much the same thing that I do for myself. Like, for example, my personal tagline is to do and be better than yesterday.
Mm.
And I come up with some defining question to help me carry that. And those defining question is, whatever I'm doing, it has to be something that makes me happy. Whatever I'm doing, it has to be something that's in alignment to my purpose on earth. Whatever I'm doing, he has to bring value to other people. So you need your tagline, your personal tagline, and you need your defining question. And then you
Mhm.
come up with your standards. And my standards are the fruits of the spirit. And you guys are probably familiar with them. My standards are compassion, humility. So you have to define those type of things that define you. It's like when we date in a man, for example. You're not dating a man if he doesn't have a job, if he doesn't have a car, right? So we have some
I
standards.
mean, in the past, I might have done.
Yeah,
No.
but here's the thing. Even right now, you have some standards that you go by. It
Yeah.
might be in business. I'm not doing business with such and such if you don't value this, if you don't value that. So we have to look at it from a personal perspective. What are your standards, and what is your motto? Well, motto. What is your mentor? Whatever you want to call it, and then define that. And what are your core values? My core values in my family is faith, growth, service, leadership, and love. Service, leadership, and love is also the core value of my businesses. And Mosaic, you guys probably have some core values, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you what are these?
Oh, yeah. Well, the first one is excellence.
Excellence.
Excellence, integrity, just being, compassionate, both about our team, our community, our projects.
Perfect. You
Yeah.
see how they come up so easily? It's the same
Hmm.
thing. But here's the thing, by you being the owner and the CEO of Mosaic, those core value also attribute to you too, and your personal
Absolutely.
life. So you see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So it's a matter of us being aware of the core value that we have. And when we know your core value, like, for example, in Haiti, we have those three things, like equality, fraternity, and I don't remember the last one, but those core values are what keep you grounded. So you're
Hmm.
always operating within your core values.
Yeah,
But
I agree. I mean, my personal mission statement is I wake up to make impact.
that's it.
So
So
it's just really simple.
that keeps you grounded. And by you knowing that, every time you find yourself in a moment where you're not really operating where you're supposed to operate, your mind, your subconscious quickly reminds you of that mission you have.
Absolutely.
My name is Bridge. Like whatever I'm doing, we always see me Bridge. Matter of fact, Bridge is also the philosophy that the organization kind of adopt. The bridge, that means we are believer, we respond, we invent, and with discipline, determination, and greatness to empower other people. So I'm always operating within this mind frame. And because of that mind frame, even if I find myself to slip back into depression, I can't stay there for too long, because by me being depressed, I will not be able to carry out my mission.
Yeah.
It also forces me to grow love toward myself, and it forces me to always love other people, because that's what I'm responsible for.
It's so refreshing to hear this conversation from a man. And I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but most times it's women. We're normally the ones having the conversation about loving yourself, growing in love with yourself, self-care, mental health. Most times it's women who that conversation is around. Do you find that more men are having these types of conversations? Or maybe because I'm not around a lot of men, I don't know. Maybe I'm just lost on that. But do men have these conversations?
Well, we do have men. The majority of men that seems to have this conversation are probably men that people call gay men. But the reality is, we all should have that conversation, whether you men or women. And that's probably why our culture is in this situation. That's probably why we have this dysfunction among our families, where the father is not involved anymore to do these things, because people are not really talking about love. When you see a man, it's more about showing off the muscles, how I can beat you up, how I can do this, I can do that. It's not about that embracing one another anymore. But if there's one person, when I look at the history, when I look at my faith, when I look at everything, if there's one person responsible to cultivate love in the community, is men. But the problem is, because we dropped that ball, that's why we have all these things we have. So now I'm super proud to talk about growing in love, because I had to do it myself. I had to learn to love myself first. And the minute I learned to love myself, guess what? My son get the love from me, and my wife get the love from me. My wife and I, we took my son out for dinner a couple months ago. And one thing he said, Daddy, I love you now. You're not angry anymore. Like, you're not fighting. You don't even fight with mommy. That's all I need. This right there, I can take it to grab with me, because that's exactly what I wanted to do. I used to be angry because I was so depressed. I didn't know how to love myself. But the minute I stopped making that shift, I'm like, no, it can't be that way. People start seeing it.
Now I know you've given some tips and stuff, but I want, from any men that are listening out there,
Yeah.
what can you specifically share? Because like you said, men are, macho, and I don't want to talk about this mushy love stuff, and I don't have no mental health issues, and if I do, I'm gonna keep it to myself. What can you? Because I feel like men go through a lot. They carry a lot of burdens, just like women do, and like I said, it's very rare that there are conversations or conferences or events that are focused on men and the things that they deal with and how they can manage their mental health better. So, what tips can you provide for the men that may be listening out there?
Learn to address your emotion. That's the key. A lot of men don't understand what it means to address your emotion. It's okay for you to feel the way you feel. It's okay for you to express those type of deep feeling. It's not making you weak. Listen, I might be a tiny little guy. Listen, as much love that I have, if you cross me wrong and if you attack my family, you're gonna see another side of me. The only thing right now is I have self-control. So I'm not gonna let you get under my skin for any kind of thing, because I have so much love to give. And most of the time, these people don't show that love. It's because they have so much thing that block them. The minute you start addressing these emotions, now you can express that love. So it's a matter of understanding how to communicate your emotion. In relationship, the key to every relationship is having appropriate communication. And when you don't have it, you can't tell people. And that's why we did wrong. That's why our relationship will not fruitful. That's why our relationship don't last, because we don't know how to express those things. We don't even know what we want.
So true. We think we know sometimes. I mean, sometimes I'm I'm like, oh my God, Ann Marie, what do you want? What exactly do you want? I think I know some days, and then some days I'm like, I don't know. Is that what I really want?
You see what you're saying? You know some days and some days you don't. But the thing is, when you take some time to define those things, you always know what you want. There's
Yeah.
not a day that I wake up now that I don't know what I want. And you just said it. You just want it to impact. That's all you're trying to do. You want it to impact. That's what makes you feel a whole.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think I'm more so talking about on like professionally, community wise. Absolutely. I'm super clear on that. It's more on the personal side where sometimes I'm just like, what do you really want?
Well,
Right.
another question will be, what is your major purpose in life?
Mm-hmm.
And take some time to answer that. And then you will find out everything you do will get you closer toward that. And then you will find what you want.
Yeah.
You know, have
Yeah.
you ever going out on a date and then the man can't tell you what he really wants, but just simple stuff? I mean, you know what a man's want, whenever it's women, you already know, but what other things that you really want?
Yeah.
That sometimes they can't even tell you they want a long lasting relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, but the question, when you really take the time to learn who we are, to understand who we are, I mean, it just creates something totally different.
Yeah.
When you know who you are, the minute somebody were to ask you something that's not you, you just tell them straight up, I don't have this. And then you just go your merry way.
Yeah, that's true. Well, no, I hope everyone out there that's listening has definitely gotten some good tea from you today.
But thank you.
So, anything that you have upcoming that you want to share with us, whether in Virginia or here in Florida,
Well,
that you want to share with our listeners?
well, please visit the website. We do have some courses for youth, and I'm open for some more in-depth workshop on growing in love with yourself. And then I have another one coming up. It's the desired outcome, where you can create a plan for your life, for your stuff. And I do have some other workshops available on the website. So please visit the website. You'll see all the stuff that we are doing. And if you need some mental health training, we'd be more than happy to orchestrate those with you in partnership with your organization. Just reach out, and then I'll be more than happy to put something together for you guys.
Absolutely. Well, please stay with me for a moment, but thank you, Anozaire, for sharing all this great insight, especially around mental health and especially for not just the women out there, but men out there, because oftentimes men do get left out of the discussion. So thank you for being a voice for all of us, but definitely for being a voice for men as well in your journey and what you're doing, and continue making an impact. Love it. I'm so glad that you came on to the show so that you could share with us all the great things that you're doing. And please, everyone, please check out his website, gobridge.org. You'll see it scrolling at the bottom. Of course, check out my website, annmariesorrell.com, to learn more about what I am up to. So much happening. Definitely check out what's going on with the Mosaic Group as well as Cannabisiac and any upcoming events. We actually are doing the community connector, bringing it back. We haven't done it in a while. It's going to be March 25th at Mosaic Co-work, which is off of Corporate Way and 45th Street in West Palm Beach. And so we're super excited. It's free to attend. We're going to have some great small local businesses out. It's going to be an indoor-outdoor event. Local businesses that will be vending. So we definitely want to shop local, shop small. And we're just going to have a good time, drinks, food, music, etc. And also make sure you just check out our website, Mosaic Co-work, if you're looking for office space, shared office space, a place to get away from home and work for a few hours or a day or two a week. We have that for you, and we'll be opening our second location in Fort Lauderdale on historic Trunk Boulevard. I'm so excited. And yes, thank you. In our second location, we'll be doing a grand opening with the YMCA and Broward College and so many others that will be in the new state of the art building there. And it's going to be May 20th. So we will be taking pre-orders for those who want to expand to Broward County or who need office space in Broward County. So more to come on that. And of course, I want to just close with one of my, as I said earlier, my tea that I'm drinking is spearmint green tea, which has been very refreshing this afternoon. But a quote that I want to share: life is like a cup of tea. It's all in how you make it.
Yeah.
Some of us make tea without sugar.
Yeah.
Some of us make tea with sugar. Some of us add half and half or cream or milk. It's all in how you make it. Some make it with honey, agave.
Yep.
It's all in how you make it. And I think, Anozaire, you shared with us, just even if you're dealing with some mental health issues or emotional issues, it's all in how you bounce back from it, all in how you manage it. And so just like a cup of tea, it's
That's
all in
right.
how you make it.
I agree. Yeah. Thank you so much, and Mary. Thank you for the germs, and I appreciate you having me. And it was an honor. And anytime I can be of service, just let me know. Reach out, and I'll be more than happy to be with you.
Absolutely. I definitely appreciate you. And I appreciate everyone who is tuning in. Please be sure to follow, like, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're joining from YouTube. Make sure you share this video because there's definitely lots of information and valuable information that can benefit someone else in your family or in your workspace or in the community. So please be sure to like, share, and subscribe or follow. And we'll be back with you next time with Tea with Ann Marie, where we're spilling the tea on all things business, politics, and community happenings. Thank you and have a great weekend.
Thank you.